My sister Sarah, 53, and I, 45, haven't spoken since I was 30. 15 years. 15 years of radio silence and no calls. It was the only way for me to cope. It was a decision made to salvage myself from constant torture. A decade and a half of silence, a chasm that seemed too vast to bridge, a wound that had scabbed over but never fully healed. A wound I had actively tried to forget. We used to be super close, inseparable. She was like a mother to me growing up, a surrogate caregiver during a time when my own mother was physically and emotionally unavailable. Her actions, that now I realize I may never be able to comprehend, changed me forever. Mom fell pregnant when I was 1.5, and the pregnancy was difficult, high risk. She spent the entire pregnancy plus 6 months post-birth in the hospital, battling complications and struggling to survive. It was touch and go for both of them, I was told later on. Sarah stepped up, filling the void, tending to my needs, showering me with affection and care. She taught me to read, to ride my bike, to navigate the complexities of the world. She was my protector, my confidant, my guiding light. I worshipped her. I thought nothing could ever break our bond. I could not have been more wrong. At 11 years old, for school reasons, I was living with her and her boyfriend, Mark, now husband. It was supposed to be a temporary arrangement, a way for me to attend a better school in a safer neighborhood, a ruse now that I look back on it, but it quickly became a living nightmare. Mark SA'd me. The memory is still vivid, a horrifying snapshot etched into my mind. The shame, the confusion, the violation, it's all still there, lurking beneath the surface, triggered by unexpected noises and events. I felt it, and the feeling washed over me like it was my first experience. I was young and naive. I told Sarah, desperate for her help, for her protection. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. He beat her when she confronted him, his violence erupting in a terrifying display of rage. It was her first instance of physical violence between the two, but sadly not the last. Sarah, instead of turning to me for comfort, turned on me. She then told me it was my fault, that I was acting like a tart and led him on, that I had somehow provoked his actions. I could not believe what I was hearing. I believed her. I internalized the blame, accepting her twisted narrative as truth. I felt responsible for the beating she got, for the violence that had erupted in our lives. I was just a child, desperate for her love and approval. What did I know about anything? It was at that moment I was a victim of manipulation and grooming. I spent the next 12 years trying to protect her from him, trapped in a cycle of abuse and denial, cleaning her blood off walls, tending to her physical wounds while ignoring my own. It was a sickness that the family did not want to speak of. I helped to raise their kids, sacrificing my own childhood to care for their family. It made me feel like I was not a normal kid. I constantly begged her to leave him, to escape the cycle of violence, to reclaim her life. I wanted her to be free, but to no avail. She was trapped too, a victim of his manipulation and control. At 24, he tried it on me again. Older now, stronger, I was able to fight him off, to escape his grasp, but the violation was still there, the trauma resurfacing with renewed force. I knew I needed to escape from that household. The feeling of disgust was still the same as when I was 11, but amplified. I told our mother, hoping for support, for validation. Her first question was, "Did you make him think you wanted that?" A question that cut me to the core, invalidating my experience and placing the blame squarely on my shoulders. She made excuses for him, minimizing his actions and telling me not to tell my sister, fearing the repercussions of disrupting their family life. It was clear at this moment I could trust absolutely no one to look out for me. If I did not do it myself, no one would. A week later, my sister calls me, yelling and demanding to know what I did with her husband, her voice filled with rage and accusation. I told her exactly what happened, laying bare the truth that I had carried for so long. She called me a liar, dismissing my experience and choosing to believe her abuser over her own sister. I was not only shocked and hurt, she made a choice, just like she was making every time that he abused her. How could she believe him after all I sacrificed? I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt, clinging to the memory of the loving sister she used to be. I kept blaming myself, questioning my own perceptions and forgiving her transgressions. I was trapped in a cycle of loyalty and denial, unable to break free from the bonds of our shared history. It was my first sign of realizing that I did not need to prove loyalty to anyone unless they were willing to prove the same to me. For the next 6 years, I repeated my actions in the false hopes that she would change and turn back to who I used to remember her as. I worked so hard to try and get her out of the abusive relationship and see that her husband would not change, but to no avail. It was not my responsibility to save her. I finally had enough of her bullshit and cut her out of my life at 30. I walked away, severing the ties that bound us, choosing self-preservation over familial obligation. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it was also the most liberating. I no longer had to worry about what she thought of my actions and if it would get her hurt. It was time to cut her out. She got cancer when I was 21, a frightening diagnosis that forced me to confront my own mortality. Cancer was scary, and I watched it take my grandfather away when I was younger. I moved city to care for her and her kids, sacrificing my own aspirations to support her through her illness. It was a decision I did not think much about since she helped me as a child. Apparently, it's back now, the insidious disease resurfacing after years of remission, and my mom thinks I need to forgive her and make amends before she dies, believing that reconciliation is essential for peace of mind, for closure. It was brought up to me in a text messages, and she called it a dying wish. FTR, she's still married to the S/O. My heart sank when I saw those texts. My response was that she died 15 years ago in my eyes, that the sister I loved had long since vanished, replaced by someone I no longer recognized. Her body may still be alive, but her mind was long gone. So, AITA for not making amends and letting her go to her grave without my forgiveness? It's a question that has haunted me for years, a moral dilemma that weighs heavily on my conscience. It has brought me sleepless nights wondering if my actions are the right thing. I have not been this anxious in many years. The truth is, I spent a long time in and out of therapy, unpacking all the hurt, guilt, feelings of abandonment, and feeling of being let down. I have spent an abundance of years paying the bills to look after my mental health. It's not something I would wish on anyone. I don't hate her. For many years I did, venomously, consumed by anger and resentment, but that feeling changed to indifference as I healed. As I distanced myself from the pain, I found peace in letting go, in accepting that I couldn't change the past. I did not want to let it consume me any longer. I don't believe I needed to forgive her to heal. My healing came when I found forgiveness for myself, when I stopped blaming myself for the abuse and the betrayal. As stupid as it sounds, I blamed myself and had to work hard to accept and believe that that blame doesn't sit at my feet. I am still healing from this moment even to this day. My only blame was trusting the people who claimed to love me and not doing anything sooner. It was difficult accepting that for so many years. Even now, as I write all of this, I can feel my heartbeat increasing in my chest. The pain has never left. For the most part, I pay her no mind and live a full and happy life surrounded by the people I hold dearest. Friends who are my chosen family, who offer unwavering love and support. They are a constant source of support, and I would not trade it for anything. This only became an issue when it was brought up recently, when my mother called, her voice filled with urgency and pleading. She did not know where to turn. So here I am at a crossroads, facing a decision that could alter the course of my life. Do I revisit the past, reopen old wounds, and offer forgiveness to a woman who has caused me so much pain, knowing it could disrupt my peace of mind and rekindle old traumas? Or do I stay true to myself, protecting my peace of mind and honoring the boundaries I have worked so hard to establish, even if it means facing criticism and judgment from others? Is forgiveness always necessary? Is it my responsibility to offer it, even when it comes at the expense of my own well-being? Ultimately, the question that stands before me is not whether Sarah deserves my forgiveness, but whether I deserve to live in peace. What steps can you take to establish clear boundaries and prioritize your well-being? Consider checking out videos on healing from trauma for more information.